Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, or Hobbs and Shaw for short. This movie is directed by David Leitch, who previously directed Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2. This movie stars Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, with Idris Elba and Vanessa Kirby. Now, the plot of this movie is just as silly as the movie itself. Here's the plot. This guy named Brixton Lore, played by Idris Elba, has all these biomechanics inside him to where he's human, but also part machine, part computer. To where he's able to punch holes through walls and flip cars over and do all these superhuman strength things. He's after this deadly virus that's been stolen by Hattie Shaw, played by Vanessa Kirby. And so the government calls in Luke Hobbs, played by Dwayne Johnson, and Deckard Shaw, played by Jason Statham, to come in and stop Brixton, but also get back the virus. Let me start by saying, if you've seen Fast and the Furious 8, or Fate of the Furious, and you've seen the trailer for this movie, you know exactly what type of film and story you're going to get. Something that's off the wall, crazy, action-packed, leave your brain at the door kind of movie. And that's exactly what this is. Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, they are the best part of this movie. The chemistry between them, the banter between them is really good. Vanessa Kirby as Hattie Shaw, Deckard's sister, she was fine as well. Idris Elba is the bad guy. He's a good actor, but they made this bad guy very cartoony. Very, oh, I'm super strong. I'm going to go get these good guys. I could kill him right now if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. That kind of cliched villain role. But it's all entertaining. It's fun. This movie is a lot like a comic book, or a cartoon for that matter, where you have two characters, like in a crossover in the comics. You have one character that's one personality, and the other personality is completely different. And they butt heads, and they don't get along, and they're not going to work together ever. Until this big bad threat comes along, and then they're forced to team up, work together. That's how this movie plays out. Now, the film doesn't take itself seriously at all. And one issue I've had with the Fast and Furious franchise is you go back and you look at Fast 5. Look at the way Luke Hobbs was portrayed. He was very Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. He's very, all right, we're going to find these guys, we're going to kill them, we're going to kidnap them, that stuff. But ever since then, he's become more of a anti-hero / good guy. That's the only issue I've had with this movie, but that's a personal preference. I just don't like how certain characters have evolved from when we were introduced to them. But I guess that's why I call it evolution. So, the action in this movie is silly. You have stuff like a vehicle driving into a building, and because there's some explosive stuff in the building, the whole building blows up and goes up in flames. And then you have a scene where 3 characters are fighting on the back of a bed on a truck, and none of them are falling off. Just a bunch of silly stuff like, okay, logic is gone out the window. None of that stuff would really happen, but it's fun and it's entertaining. The only other issue I have with this movie, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is there was too much action. The action wasn't done well enough. It was almost as if there was a location established, the characters with a mission or a purpose to be there. They had this big old fight scene at the end of it, and they'd go to another location. And then there'd be set up, and then another action, explosions, fighting, whatnot, and then they'd go to another location. And it just didn't seem consequential. This is one of those movies where a hero or a character gets injured or damaged, but they don't really show it in the next scene. If a character has a cut or a scratch, yeah, it might be on their face to, for continuity's sake, but the character never feels in danger. Almost like they're Superman. Where, yeah, they were just tied to car batteries and electrocuted. But in the next scene, there's no remnants of that. So stuff like that. But again, this movie is silly, entertaining, it's fun, and it's funny as well. There are a couple cameos in this movie. Unfortunately, they're not what I thought they were. But they made the movie funny and enjoyable. David Leitch likes to use a lot of the same actors and stunt people that he did in Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2. And so seeing some of them again were a pleasant surprise. But this movie is silly, fun. It's right up there with the later Fast and the Furious films. So because of that, I'm going to give Hobbs and Shaw a B-. And yes, there are 3 post-credit scenes, but unfortunately, they're more like deleted scenes and they don't really build towards anything. But with a movie like this, you really can't blame them. So until next time, guys, see ya.